Anchor Title Partner Woot, Platinum Partner Amazon Prime Video, CX Partner Zendesk, Content Delivery Partner Limelight Networks, Gold Partner Lionsgate Play, and Shimaru Entertainment. Now we are moving on to our next session, the ever-evolving role of CX in OTT, powered by Zendesk. I would like to introduce you to the moderator of the session, Mr. Vasudeva Rao, RVP India and SAARC. Joining him, Divya Dixit, SVP Marketing and Revenue, ALTBalaji. Siddharth Mantri, Senior Vice President and Chief Product Officer, MX Player. Raghavan ML, Head Digital Business, Sun Group. Himadeep Mohan, Vice President, Product Analytics, Customer Experience and Retention. Aha. I would request all the delegates to keep posting their questions in the chat box, and the panel will address a selected few at the end of the session. Over to you, Vasudeva.
Yeah, hi. Thank you, Deha, for those introductions, and thank you so much for having me here. Hello, everyone. Good morning, and welcome to our panel discussion focused on customer experience in the digital media and OTT space. Over the last 2 years, we have seen customer experience play a very, very important role across many industries, including digital media and entertainment industry as well. And today the customers are even more fickle-minded than they were in the past, and are very, very categorical about how they would easily switch companies if they don't get a good customer experience. It could be, and the experience could be across anything. Where it could be on onboarding, it could be in the way that when they're consuming the content, or it could be about how their issues are getting resolved when they interact with the brand or with the company. On the flip side, if they get a good customer experience, they're very likely to spend more. And we have also seen that typically a good customer typically has about anywhere between 3.5 OTT subscriptions that they would have, right? And in fact, some of the major trends that we are seeing in CX is that messaging is getting adopted much more in the media and entertainment sector than the average companies. So on today's panel, our goal is here to talk upon various aspects of CX and get a unique perspective on how to deliver exceptional business outcomes by using CX as an enabler. And what we also seen is, this year, CX has moved mostly online, while in-person interactions have reduced or decreased. But the importance of providing the meaningful customer interactions remained as is, right? The customer expectations have not changed. If at all, they've increased. And about 41% of media companies said that they care more about CX this year. And in the online world, this means that providing very, very consistent personalized experience to customers across multiple channels of interaction. So with having said this, can I just ask Himadeep, you from AHA Media, you acquired about 10 lakh subscribers within a year of starting. And this is something very, very unique and very exceptional, considering, there are so many other OTT players who work across multiple languages and, provide multiple choices to customers. Walk us through a little bit about your strategy and more specifically how you deliver optimal CX in such a very, very niche segment, and that to a regional one language segment.
Well, sure. Hi, Vasudev. Hi, everyone. So, so AHA started off in the year 2020 Feb. We started on Jan 23rd. It was a soft launch. I still remember the day that we've launched it. And there was a tweet. It went out, talking about one of the promoters, Geeta Arts, launching the app. Soon we could see a lot of downloads in the first few weeks. Feb 8th, 2020 was the actual launch, so to speak. And then from there on, AHA has been adopted by a lot many of the regional content consumers across Telangana and Andhra, because we offer Telugu language as one of the key offering. AHA primarily wanted to bring in more of original content, which we have started, and of course, because of COVID, there had been some delays. But having said that, the initial phase of adoption, initial phase of understanding the OTT app for Telugu market was gradual, but soon, because of the COVID, it kind of peaked within a matter of few months. And we weren't ready, to be honest. We haven't imagined this kind of growth. To be precise, actually, it's around 1.7 million as we speak, around 2.5 million clocked, and of course, there's a churn and all that stuff going on in
Yeah.
the typical market is customer life cycle journey, right? So we had to hire a lot of people, work from home kind of a model, and then and ensure that they got to use the tools and technologies that we have implemented to kind of serve them. It was quite a tough and it was challenging task, but because of the user base, the continuous growth, it was equally exciting for us to kind of take on the challenge. And on a day to day basis, we're still adding a good number of users, and then we are thriving to serve them at the best capabilities of our customer experience team right now.
Right. Are there any regional nuances that come into play uh, when you're envisaging a CX in your space?
Yeah, I mean, if I may have to, if I have to map the user consumption, right? So it started with year one, primarily because a lot of marketing has happened initially in this area, and then from Hyderabad, of course, and then it moved to the towns and villages, tier two and tier three, towns and villages. Um, we have seen that. Telugu regional need to be kind of have to be primarily being served. So most of our customer experience team, we've ensured that they kind of serve them when we have messaging in Telugu as first language and then English.
Mm.
Hardly
Mhm.
we find any Hindi speaking customers, but some of the customers now outside of Telangana and Andhra also, have subscription for AHA, and then they do ask for the subtitles, and they would like to understand the language much more because of the kind of content that we're providing these days.
Yeah, thanks. And I'm one of the subscribers of AHA, and I stay outside of Andhra Telangana. So, pretty happy customer of yours. So, thanks so much for that. And I
Yeah.
agree with you. Yeah, thanks so much for that. Yeah, so moving on to Sun. Thanks, Himadeep. Moving on to Sun Network, Raghavan. You guys started off as one single channel with one language, but then you've sort of cut across all the South regional languages, right? And that's a phenomenal growth that you have. And with so many challenges, so many different variations of language, content, cultures, it more looks like a very unique model. So, do you see any regional variations in how you look at CX in one language versus the other?
Actually, just want to correct you slightly there. We are beyond South now. We are into Bengali and Marathi also. Marathi
Yeah,
being
sorry.
specified.
More regional.
Yeah,
Let me say more regional then.
absolutely. The other thing I'd like to say is from a customer experience point of view, I'd like to pull back a little more because for us, customer experience is starts a lot before the point of even communication coming in because customer experience is about the overall engagement with the app with the OTT platform. It is I don't think it's to do with just the redressal communication or communication in terms of uh, responding to customer queries. There's a lot more that goes into it, which I think is the more critical part of the play here.
Hmm.
Because as far as the customer's concerned, he is paying, like most of us are on a SWOT platform, MX probably being the exception. He pays and says, I'm coming in to watch content of a certain genre, class, whatever. And I would want that experience to be absolutely seamless. Now, from from my point of view, that starts from the onboarding point at the point of onboarding, then comes into navigation, browsing, playing, transacting. It's the whole gamut of things.
Correct.
And to my mind, the uh, softer aspects of the thing comes into your failure redressal issues or payment failures, those kind of download failure, those kind of communication does happen. But the customer experience is primarily focused on the front end part, which is when I switch on, am I able to get the content that I want? Is your recommendation engine good enough? Is it able to throw up content and suggest content that makes sense to me? Is there less buffering, which is given India's inherent bandwidth issues? Is there less buffering? Are you able to optimize and contextualize the content delivery in a manner that it makes sense? I think that's the more important aspect. And if you notice today, the platforms have cracked that aspect. Whether it's the global players or the Indian players, the ones who have managed to crack that aspect are the ones who are successful. Yeah.
Mhm.
Now, if you, I'm saying, if the onboarding process itself, let's assume that we send out a link for a new piece of content. Now, over the last 3 years and over our accumulation of, we cater to almost about close to 21 million subscribers. Yeah. And on that kind of a base, we realized over the last 3 years the onboarding process can be quite challenging. The
Right.
guy wants to get on, and initially there were requirements of all kinds of information being asked for. Customers were getting irritated; they were dropping off. How well integrated are you with payment gateways? How many payment gateways are you linked with? All those points come into play because the guy comes in there assuming that his payment mechanism is integrated with you and it's done easily and there's no issue, you know, and not experience things like I've made payments but there's a failure, unable to register, those kind of things. And when your volume picks up, those become critical, be it
Yep.
international or Indian, given the fact that we have a significant international South Indian diaspora who log on to our content, because we are one of the few apps that stream over 33 live channels in addition to television VOD plus movies, which is a significant amount of content that goes out. Navigation, how intuitive is your app? You know, how are you able to? Is your metadata in place? Is the customer able to just key in a couple of letters, and is the right kind of content popping up? Are the options coming up? I mean, RA and it says actor RAJ should give Rajnikant, or then the option should be Rajkumar. You know, those kind
Exactly.
of things should happen. So it's looking at it from that point of view, and I think we need to get all of that in place. And I think I mentioned it the first time we spoke a couple of weeks ago when we were kind of getting to know each other. The
Yep.
the importance of that is becoming more and more crucial because content over a period of time will hit parity,
That's right.
and
Yes.
technology does become a leveler. And these are basics.
Yes.
And while it sounds simple, it is enormously challenging to get all this in place. And some of the best global apps offer this. Their metadata is so perfect that you're able to the search engines, I'm sorry, the recommendation engines are so sharp that over a period of time, the kind of communication that you get hit with, you know, you watch a particular piece of content, and over 72 hours, if you've not gone back to that content, the automated message from the app hits you, hey, how come you've not completed it? Why don't you complete this? It keeps talking to you to tell you to come back, finish that content. You like this, we notice that you like this genre. So here are some movies that we think that will work for you, or here are some series that will work for you. I think that all this forms part of a customer experience. The
Agree.
redressal comes later, I agree. And then language comes later. And finally, also, I think the important part is, irrespective of whether the customer is in Bilaspur or Salem or Vijayawada or Vizag or wherever, it doesn't matter. The guy comes there saying that at that point in time, and we've had a number of customers like that. We have customers who, and we have automated replies that go out when customers log in.
Right.
Saturday nights, customers, I remember a lady who logged in and she couldn't get a reply, and she said some 16 emails. Why are you not responding? How come? And the easier part would have been saying, we have sent you an automated reply and hang on, on Monday we will get back to you. The team will be in touch with you. You're in queue. Or the other part was a very simple thing, and this is where I think the nuance. We actually got a customer service exec to call up and tell that lady, hey, listen, this has happened. You obviously have a problem in terms of the process you've undertaken in terms of registering. We will sort it out. Give us a day. That's all they want. Now,
That actually puts a very interesting topic, which I had a question for a later point of time to ask some of you was, how important is this automated responses, or the bots, the AI ML kind of this thing, versus having a hybrid kind of an approach where certain rudimentary questions can be handled by the bots, by the automated systems, versus some crucial things like this, getting handled by a human executive, bringing the aspect of empathy, and then supporting customers. Because today customer has a choice, because you have multiple places that he can go and look for the same content or a similar content. If if the service is not addressed, that or the it's not remediated immediately, then there's a choice. At a click of a button they can switch off, right? Switch over to something else.
the point, Basu, and I think you hit the nail on the head. At that point in time, it is empathy that he's seeking. Okay, the
Yes.
instinctive reaction is, irrespective whether it's Sun or MX or AHA or ALTBalaji or Amazon or whoever it is,
Yes.
I have paid. I want to watch content now. You cannot behave like a big giant global corporation sitting down and expect me to get a wait for a response for the next 3 or 4 days. And that's the part when, and I don't remember whether it was LinkedIn or somebody else who have a very nice soft communication which is automated, which is sometimes if you're not able to log in, there's a message that comes out and saying, hey, you know what, we see that you're having a bit of an issue. The problem is at our end. We're trying to fix it. Just hang on there.
Totally.
Whatever,
Yeah.
that 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 ability to reach out and say, and our automated messages are designed to do that. First, go out and tell them that, hey, listen, relax. You're important to us. We are sorting out your things, and we already have a system in place where, depending on the criticality of the issue, okay, and if the and there are escalation, there's an escalation matrix in place, which, when you know that within 24 hours something has not been attended, it gets moved up, it gets bumped up. And there are several times when the head of tech gets into it, because there are issues. There are customers who say that, listen, I've got this, I've paid the thing, the payment gateway is clear, it's mine is a Samsung TV, and given that the hardware complexity, which is a
Yeah.
challenge.
Proliferation of
Samsung,
devices.
you
Yeah.
have Android, you have Apple TV, you have iOS, and you have so many things. And it may be, and the point is to be able to reach out to them and saying, listen, we are sorting it out. And I've lost count of the number of times we've actually had a tech execs, if it is in Chennai, to actually visit the person and say, listen, we've sorted this out. We've come there. And it's not just the gratitude, the ability to connect and say that, listen, these guys do care. They've sorted it out. It may be a unique problem. And that's one big hassle with tech. And you being a techie would know that each time, the complexity can be very different. It could
Yep.
be a point of delivery with a telco thing. It could be a bot attack with one of your syndication. It could be a lot of things. Yeah? And my sense is, yes, language is important, but I think that's where the complexity comes in. To try and build in all of that at this point in time, we find we're probably getting there, but I don't think it's that critical. Whether it's a complaint from Kerala or and being Sun, and given the fact that our backbone is broadcast business with so many channels,
Right.
we cater to an absolute mass premium audience. Okay, so language, but we have not seen that it's such a big issue. People do
Okay.
write in. Yes, there are a lot of broken English emails that come to us. I paid, service. Why? It's like the way kids SMS nowadays, or text or
Yeah.
WhatsApp nowadays. So we do respond to them and tell them that this is the issue, and probably within less than a couple of hours, we send them saying this is the problem with you, but give us some time. We will come back to you with a weekend, or we say by the next day morning we will get in touch with you and make sure that gets resolved, and there is a confirmation from there. Completing that process is more critical than Yes, language is critical, but I don't think we have faced language related issues so far. As
So
far as mediums are concerned, uh, emails work wonderfully for us. Uh, I've not seen, with the exception of Netflix, I've not seen too many WhatsApp based uh, communication. Netflix does that. I mean, they're probably the gold standard in terms of
service.
customer connect. They send you an email, then they will send you an SMS, then they'll send you a WhatsApp, then they'll follow it up, then they will, the pace at which they do it is, and that's 25 years of experience speaking. And they are a company who's done that. But given where we are currently, and I'm saying this from a Sun perspective, language is critical, and we do get our service execs calling in people and speaking to them. There, the local language connect is important.
That's right.
You can't call them up and say, "Good morning to you. How are you feeling today? How is the weather?" And it doesn't work. The guy, you have to call him and talk to him in Tamil or Telugu or Kannada or Malayalam and say, "Okay, boss, tell me what is the issue," and it would be something very very simple.
Bilkul. Yeah.
But the fact is, we expect them, and thanks to the new IT rules, whatever. And for example, and given this is India, the new IT rules say there is a content grievance thing that needs to be a part of the app. That's part of the rules.
Right.
But most of the thing, people don't read that content part. There's also a complaint section, customer service. They send it
Mm.
to both.
Good. Right.
Why leave out one? I will send it to both. I've written there, I've written here. Come and tell me what is the problem. Can you resolve this? So I think it's a question of that. And my mind is, if you get the front end fixed to a great extent, and that is a challenge. If you can get your onboarding, navigation, your recommendation engine, your and wherever that's transacting, I mean, there are platforms like Apple TV has both your regular content. It has integrated content from players like Eros Now and Lionsgate Play, and there is content which is free as part of your regular subscription. There is also a pay where you can get. If those parts are done seamlessly, then I think that is defining customer experience. I mean, if I can get him to get annoyed and less annoyed, and there's less angst in the entire engagement, then it's easy.
Yeah. Sure.
That's the critical.
Yeah. So I hear you. I mean, just to summarize, you're saying that, don't just look at the redressal part of it, look at the entire end-to-end spectrum. And very importantly, I think, you also spelled out that, bring the angle of empathy into it. And that will sort out most of the issues, whether it's the front end or the back end or the redressal part of it, right? So thanks so much for Raghavan for giving that perspective of that. Quickly moving on to Siddharth, uh, you guys recently passed about 1 billion downloads, joining a very, very small list of high profile apps, globally to achieve this kind of a milestone. We also hear about some leading companies use some exceptional CX to drive customer growth and also retention, right? And revenue growth is obviously a part of that. The moment we speak about customer growth and you have a good revenue model, to about the revenue growth as well. So is there something that, elaborate how CX helps drive your business outcomes at MX Player?
Hey, so thanks, Vasu. Yeah, we're incredibly proud and happy about the fact that we're one of the few apps in the world, probably the only app in India, or probably the only Indian app which has crossed 1 billion downloads on Play Store. I think I'll just broadly classify customer experience into two brackets. There is the reactive support, like Raghavan mentioned, and then there's proactive just experience. I'm going to focus on the reactive part a little more, since that's the core of your question. Look, at the scale at which we operate, more than 160 170 million monthly streaming OTT users. It's not possible for us to scale using human beings. It's very obvious. I mean, I don't think anyone in the world can do that, not just us. And we're a lean, startup. We're a 500-person organization in total. We like to do bigger things with as few resources as possible. We pride ourselves on that. So there's two interesting points I'll make in the interest of time. Since we're left with 5 minutes, we still have one more speaker to go. One is we look at community as a big lever, and MX Player is probably the only OTT or video streaming app apart from YouTube that has the experience, or that has a feature for doing comments and having group discussions for every single content. You go to any video on MX Player, as long as you're on the recent build, you will find
Mhm.
that there are these threads of conversations happening. So we've built a very vibrant community. It's a very recent feature. It's been around only for about a month, and it's catching up like wildfire. And
Mhm.
so, while the intention, I'll be very honest, the intention behind building the feature was something else. But what we've realized is, kind of a huge side benefit that we didn't anticipate is that conversation and that community has actually reduced our customer support load by a sizable margin, because the community is just helping each other out. We launched a subscription product recently called MX Gold. It has done exceedingly well. We were overwhelmed with the response we've received. And, like any other, product, we've gone through some learning issues, some teething issues, and we've realized that the community is just helping each other out. So many conversations we're seeing, they're about someone having a question that someone else has figured out the answer to, and they're just helping each other out. So that's, I think, one interesting way that you can build scale for customer experience. I think second part is I'll be very cautious about bots and ML and automation. It can be very
Yeah.
annoying. I think it's probably okay if you want to collect some information about the customer, like, what's your name, what's your account, what's your issue, give a description, just so that you save time that will be spent with a real human being answering silly questions that can be managed by technology. But in a country like India, where everyone is speaking a different language, people are writing in English, people are using the English alphabets to write a different language, I don't think technology has come that far to do any kind of justice to the expectations and the bar that we should be hitting. So I would be very cautious, and I'm not kidding myself. I don't think we're there, not in the Indian context, probably works well in the West. And you have to look at the cultural nuance. In the West, there is a big DIY culture. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
My bike has a flat. I'm going to go to a DIY shop. I'm going to buy a puncture kit. I'm going to go repair the puncture myself. That doesn't happen in India. In India, you call someone and some person comes and helps you. That's the expectation. That's the culture. That's the human frame of reference. And so, this whole like bot, and I'm going to go help myself and I'm going to deal with a machine, people don't have the patience or time for it. So I think it has to be hybrid, and all that the bot can do efficiently is collect basic information, which doesn't need any brain power. Let
Mhm.
humans handle the brain power, and then to get scale, create a vibrant community. They'll help each other out.
Yeah, I agree with you. Two important points. The community part is extremely good, and I've seen this working extremely well because it helps deflect. And there are two aspects here. One is the self-service, the DIY kind of stuff. The second is communities, which helps deflect a lot of those queries, very generic queries that are coming into the agents and taking the agent's time or the customer service executive's time. And then it frees him to do something more complex and more not just the rudimentary stuff.
Yeah, and you
And
can
I'm so
gamify that. You can reward users who are helping out in the community. You encourage it. You gamify it. You
yeah.
give them incentives to do it, and that way, that's the only way to get scale. Really, 160 million streaming users. I don't think we can apply any kind of human manpower and still do justice to it.
Yeah, very interesting. Thank you so much for sharing that with us because this is something I'd like to maybe spend some more time with you personally to understand a little bit more how you achieve that. Because we also do at Zendesk, provide those self-service and community kind of capabilities. Love to understand the use case more, Siddharth.
Sure. Yeah, happy
Thanks so
to.
much for sharing that. Yeah. Moving to Divya. Divya, 69% growth in direct subscriptions, and this is a rapid growth for you. And how do you ensure overall CX for your overall operations to be able to effectively scale, the way that you guys are growing? Any pointers you'd like to share with us and the broader audience here?
So first of all, uh, growth is good. So that's a good problem to have that we have currently at our hands. The point here is how are you ensuring that you're creating an app which is relevant to the TG of this thing, right? So for me to create an app like, and I quote unquote Netflix is going to be silly because that's not my TG. My TG is mass India. My TG is tier 2, tier 3, tier 4. And by that, I'm not downplaying anybody. I'm just saying that they like to navigate simplified UI UX, right? So which means your top banner needs to be simple. Swipe, swipe, swipe. Can I create vertical experiences with swipe, swipe, swipe can work? Can I do a one touch subscription journey for a customer? So when he lands on a particular video he likes, he wants to see, touch, goes to subscription page, touch, you're done. How do I ensure with the new guidelines which have come from the government of India, which is not allowing you to do credit cards? So now we are constantly working on the UPI recurring payment, etc. How do you ensure that you're tied up not only with people like Amazon Pay, etc., but also with offline, off-site retailer networks which are actually going to sell your subscription like a chota recharge? Can I do my weekly packs, etc.? So all those things are going to be part of in line with the growth that you have to handle. So keeping the app together in the front end, which is your UI UX, keeping the app together at the back end, okay, which is your tech and the consumer validations and the inputs, and even the queries running for the customer analysis and behavior, and then ensuring that your distribution of the app is far and wide through multiple channels and not digital.
Mhm.
All this works hand in hand, tandem, and I think I strongly believe in that. We at ALTBalaji as a team believe strongly in that, and those are the kind of things we work together in creating an input. I think what's also very, very critical is the kind of content that you put out on the app, right? So if Alt was to start putting out an X kind of content on the app, which is no longer relevant to TG2, 3, 4 kind of people, uh, you will have to completely rehaul, revamp the app, because then my TG changes, my focus changes, right? So, growth, a good problem to have. Uh, how do I ensure that I am relevant, always available, free experience to my TG is a problem that we need to constantly solve and be available to the folks. So one of the points that was said earlier than me was very, very relevant. I hate bots. I find them extremely useless. They are extremely brainless. The only thing they can do is probably collect my information, which is, my name and my mobile number. Beyond that, you throw a question to them, and I know this because we've been working on bots and we've been trying to see at what level we can take them in customer interaction. You throw a genuine issue to them, they're flummoxed. And the only thing that they can come out with is, we will have somebody contact you, right? Now, a furious customer, right, doesn't really want to hear that. A furious customer, and trust me, an Indian customer, when they pay you $100, they think they owe you, and it's okay, because that's how a consumer is going to behave. And I'm going to say it outright, because even if I'm a consumer, that's how I'm going to behave. Listen, I paid you your price, you better give me the service. I think it's absolutely fine to do that. So the real trick in you experience lies in ensuring that how well is your app coming together, and in what time frame are you actually responding and servicing your customer. It doesn't matter if you have an issue, it doesn't matter if the app has a problem, it's okay. Because you know what, if somebody says, oh, we've cracked the code and we are a perfect app, no, it doesn't happen. They're lying through their teeth. Nobody cracks the code, because digital is so fast, so evolving, and I believe AI and ML are the most bastardized words. Everybody uses them so freely, saying AI, ML, but hello, first of all, do you have data wide and deep enough for the ML to apply? And then ML only works up to a certain point, and then there is a layer of another technology, right, which is contextual technology, which comes on top of it, and then there is a layer of AI which will come on top of it. So it's a long and wide and deep journey to have. The point is, how customer obsessed, customer centric are you? And how will you keep evolving yourself to do that? So I like one point which Siddharth said, where he said, this we've opened up community channels and they are helping each other. Now that's a good way to evolve, right? Because then, not only is your platform just one way streaming, but it is also becoming a conversational platform. And that's a great idea to have, personally, I feel. And then these conversations also can create conversations about the product, about the brand, about the content. So I think that's a great evolution, honestly. Uh, and that's how we are going to be at Alt. Alt was designed keeping in mind that it's for the masses of the country. We'll keep it very simple on purpose for the simple reason that we want the navigation to be simple. We want the responses to be immediate. We want to actually educate the masses of the country how to use digital and how to be able to see content at their convenience anytime, anywhere. So, as long as we uphold that promise through various pillars of tech, navigation, customer experience, content, branding, marketing, I think we've served what we set out to do.
I just want to add to what I think she
Right.
said something absolutely critical. We constantly keep trying and we benchmark against one of the best apps in the world globally. And Siddharth also mentioned it, given the complexity of language, culture, understanding. The customer wants an absolutely simple experience. Needs
Correct.
to be able, he or she needs to be able to choose and get on with it. Don't make his life difficult. That
Correct.
lady,
Don't ask him 40,000 questions that are
yeah,
irrelevant to him and then make his life miserable. Make it simple for him. He's come on your app to watch content. Please make it
and,
available,
and,
simple.
and,
The most
absolutely
beautiful
right.
things in life are simple.
And absolutely right. She said customer only. That lady who I was speaking to you about, the monthly subscriber. She was paid 50 rupees a month. But at that point in time on Saturday night, she believed she owed Sun Next and Sun TV as an entity. And how the hell can you not respond to me? 16 emails, Vasu, 16 emails between 9 o'clock and 11:30, demanding that we sort out her problem.
I,
It was
I
quite,
agree. Yeah,
you know,
I agree with you. And Divya, absolutely good points about the nuances of how Balaji is looking at it. I know the one point that I took away from you was the customer centricity is very important, right? Whatever you're doing, if you have the customer's viewpoint at the center of your thought process, you can actually go ahead and provide a better service, better content, and everything else
Correct.
becomes behind that, right? So thanks so
Correct.
much for sharing that. I know we are coming towards the end, but one thing I wanted to ask all of you, and there are a lot of things that I wanted to discuss, but possibly of time, maybe I can connect with each one of you separately and discuss more. But one thing I want to talk to you is, as you move into the future, what do you think will be the investments from your side? Will it be on people? Will it be on technology? Or will it be on processes? Or will it be on data? What do you think? And I can go around and ask each one of you, starting with maybe Divya.
For us, it's always going to be simplification of the UI UX, so therefore tech for sure. For sure, content, because that's what's going to drive engagement conversations. For sure, good people, because as digital ecosystem opens up and more so actually explodes across India with all kinds of investments coming in startups, good people, right? If you have good people, a good tech, processes will happen on their own, right? Because these are the people who will help you set up the processes. So, investment, I personally feel that your investments need to come in people, tech, and content. And then everything happens as a by function of the same.
Sure. Thanks, Divya. Raghavan, your viewpoint on this?
um, I think to a great extent, OTT, the way it's evolving, uh, tech is at the core, and customer experience or content, everything becomes if you look at the biggest players, be it Facebook, be it Amazon, be it all of them are are inherently tech at heart. Tech is getting into media rather than the other way around. Okay, and if, from our point of view, I think it will be uh, content at the core of everything. It still need to be relevant. Then it's going to be tech, people, and data. That's the way we see it. Uh, because as content there's greater parity of content. To be able to find the right mix for your audience is critical. At the same time, there is no getting away from the fact that the pace at which this is evolving, tech investments are an absolute. It's 100%. And we have hardly a country who have learned to understand data and exploit analytics. That comes next. And like Divya said, if you need to have a great team, because you need to have like-minded people who really believe and are committed to this to be able to drive that growth.
Sure. Thank you, Raghavan. How about you, Siddharth? What would be your priorities if I were to ask about people, process, data, and technology?
So I've always thought about a 3P framework: the people, product, and processes. Those are the three things that drive any organization. Doesn't matter media or tech or whatever. Um, I think the way I would like to answer that question is our priority is the customer, and whether it's people or product or processes, those are all means to the end. But if I had to pick one, since you asked the question, I'll just say that there's one of the things we've done over the last year and a half I've been at MX is built an organization that is designed to service customer needs most efficiently. Given the customers that we serve, particular focus cohorts that we have, the size of our organization, maturity of the organization, all of these come into play. There's no single answer that fits every situation. And so, we've stratified roles and disciplines very, very clearly. And so I would pick, from customer as a focus. Second layer is people that are most important, because the organization is nothing without the people. And then within people, we've stratified it into product management, uh, technical program managers, design is stratified into visual design, UX design, interaction design. There is product analytics. We have product marketing management now, PMM. But there's one discipline that I'm really excited about, which is fairly nascent in India, and we've started building out a data science team. A lot of people tend to conflate analytics and data science; they're different. So I think the one thing that I'm really excited about is data science and data scientists, and we have a very strong data science team. I think they're probably going to be the one differentiator, especially in India, because it's a very nascent field, and we've actually recruiting worldwide for it. We've set up offices in 3 countries precisely for this reason, so we can tap into talent no matter where it is.
Sure. Thank you, Siddharth. And Himadeep, from your side,
Yeah,
what
so
would
very
be
quickly, I would resonate with most of my friends who spoke here, but I would like to address, any customer interaction would lead to a better retention and understanding better opportunities, right? So it would resonate more or less what's been covered. Always take end user experience into account. Deploy technologies such as we recently went on with Salesforce, Sales Cloud, and Service Cloud to ensure that we're using the best service so that our response levels are pretty fast. We try to maintain it. We want to be the number one in terms of the best service that we can offer because we want to retain the customers. And within those voices that reach us to the AHA customer center, through omni-channel, whatever we have, chat, email, voice, whatnot. We try to understand what are the hidden opportunities, right? And how do we anticipate what are the ongoing issues? Because tier two and tier three cities often have a peculiar behavior, and then they tend to have issues which are not similar to that of tier one. Like getting onto the platform, playing it, as Divya rightly mentioned, it should be very simple and easy for them to understand, and how we can respond back, right? So these are the primary things, and it's going to be there for quite a long time. And implementing bots is something very important. Yeah, it should not kind of irritate them, frustrate them. A bot should be kind of minimized, and human interaction should be there for sure. For which we need to do a lot of capacity planning, because as in trying to be lean is a lot tougher if you have to have more number of people. So we need to understand how many chats do we receive every 5 minutes, every 1 hour, especially when we do a launch, right? So we do launches every Friday. So
yeah,
every week there's a new content. It's an original or a movie, right? So there's a lot of communication happen during the time. So how do we kind of curb it, or how do we kind of preemptively take care of those things? So a lot of those processes should be in place, and we are thriving, and we're doing our best. And I think technology would definitely be a best answer, and having an analytical and data driven approach is another important way to go, as Siddharth pointed out.
sure. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Himadeep. I think uh,
Thanks,
On that
Jimmy.
note, I'd like to thank all of you, giving and sharing your very insightful thoughts. Thank you so much for that. Neha,
I just wanted to say one thing, Divya. What you said really resonates with me. By the way, not just if customer pays. We're an award platform. Our customers don't really pay us directly, and they still think they own us.
Correct. But that's an Indian customer, no? I mean, I'm a housewife as well, right? So I still do my sabzi bhaji shopping and I still negotiate for that 5 rupees. It's an Indian middle class mentality, guys.
Siddharth, if I may, they're paying time to watch your ads.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you. It was very interesting.
everyone. And I think,
Yeah. Over to Neha.
well, we're just a little above time. So thank you so much, everyone. Actually, a lot of people in the audience also resonate a lot with Divya's, the conversation which you guys had. So thank you so much for insightful and engaging this session. Thank you, Vasudeva, Divya, Siddharth, Raghavan, Himadeep. And thanks to all our attendees who are here with us today. Stay tuned for our next session. Stay safe.